From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. We are out of the studio this week, but still been working to bring you some new shows or maybe new perspective on some of our topics that we talk a lot about here. A couple that are near and dear to my heart are a local business, small business particularly, shopping local for this holiday season, as well as charitable efforts. And we're going to kind of touch on all of that here for the show we have for you today, specifically with an event coming up with some other people you may recognize from previous guests on the show here, but also just a good way to get out and have fun here, as well as some more serious topics about giving back here. So here is that first interview. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have Amalia Zeitlin, Executive Director of Camerata Del Sol. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
Absolutely. I mean, during this time of the year, it makes a lot of sense, and we've been doing a decent amount of discussion about, shopping small, shopping local, events going on to support that kind of thing. And you all are going to be involved in an interesting one that's coming up here involving some actually previous guests on our show here, and that is information here, the Handmade Holiday Art and Craft Holiday Market that is going to be happening out there at Bodega Loya down in the Mission Valley. And you all, if people aren't familiar with the idea of Camerata, that is your all performance group, though it's a little bit more detailed than that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we are a chamber music ensemble. We do mostly classical music, although at this particular occasion, we're also going to be doing some tango music, some Spanish music, and like Spanish music, and probably some holiday tunes as well. So we try to keep it interesting and eclectic. But for the most part, we're a classical music organization, and we're flexible in size, anywhere from 2 people up to about 15, 16. At our largest, we're a string orchestra. But for this particular event, we'll be appearing as a string quartet and as a piano trio, which is violin, cello, and piano.
Okay, and so more specifically, that Handmade Holiday Market will be happening 1 to 6 p.m. on December 18th, so the coming Saturday here. But you all will then having your performance immediately following that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be kind of a celebration of the end of the day, and it'll be at 6. We might, start a couple minutes late if people are still trickling in from the market, but we'll start around 6 p.m. at a little venue that was a restaurant, and maybe someday will be a restaurant again, right across the street from Bodega Loya. Okay,
and again, that location, Bodega Loya, 10257 Socorro Road down in Socorro, Texas here. And the market itself is going to be free, and your performance, you have a $10 charge, right?
That's right. It's $10 for adults, but it's free for students and for kids.
Okay, and so kind of another thing for the holiday season, the market itself being put as a finish your holiday shopping locally and support your community, and you all out and bringing them. I'm sure you'll do, like you said, some Christmassy, but also some regional flavor kind of music out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So y'all's story is an interesting one as well. I mean, happy to talk about, local events going on here, but y'all's story is a little bit deeper than that. One of the reasons I want to talk with y'all, because you're a performance group that is, a professional performance group. You go out and kind of do these kind of performances in and around the community, El Paso, Las Cruces, all over, or basically our broadcast area. And y'all started not that long ago in what has become, in retrospect, either fortuitous or not fortuitous timing.
Yes, I couldn't have put it better myself. So we had our very first concert in 2017, but then we had a little bit of a gap between that and our next concert for all sorts of reasons. When we started doing regular concerts for the public, it was in March of 2019. So that means we had a little less than a year before COVID hit. And we were really starting to build up momentum in our 2019 concerts. We did this really awesome concert series for Lent where we were working with professional vocalists. And then we had this great concert in November of 2019, where we also played some Argentinian music for that as well, and some Mendelssohn. And the reception of that concert was great. We just were like on cloud 9, and then we were planning our next concert and COVID hit. And so we were founded to be a string orchestra, and we couldn't do anything as a string orchestra during COVID because, in New Mexico, certainly we had very strict laws about gatherings. So we decided to kind of convert to a quartet on wheels sort of situation. And actually, we were very inspired by the mariachi tradition of serenatas, just showing up at a birthday party or for Mother's Day and serenading people with, 3, 4, 5 songs and then going on to the next house. So we thought, well, we should be doing that, that would be like a safe way to gather. It would be a fun way to just get out there in the community, because especially at the beginning of COVID, there was just so much despair and uncertainty. And we felt like music is what's going to get us through this. And, now that we're somewhat on the other side of the pandemic, I think that all of us could agree that music of some genre or another was one of the things that helped us get through the pandemic. So we started doing these quartet mini concerts in driveways and parking lots. We probably did over 100 over the course of the first year of the pandemic. We had so many calls. There was really a need for it. And then by the time we got to a post-vaccine world, then we realized that there was this demand for string quartet playing. And so we got, sponsored to play monthly concerts at various places, senior centers, and that kind of a thing. And at this point, we're excited to say that we're back on track to start presenting string orchestra concerts as well. But we've had so much fun as a quartet, and we've had such a warm reception that we're going to be doing those in addition.
Interesting. Just joining us again, guest right now is Amalia Zeitlin, Executive Director of the Camerata Del Sol. You want to find out any more information about them, and including the holiday market that is coming up here, Handmade Holiday at the Bodega Loya at 10257 Socorro Road. You can find them at cameratadelsol.org. That's CamerataDelsol.org. And you're also on social media, right?
Yes, yeah, we have a Facebook page, just Camerata Del Sol, and same thing with Instagram.
Okay, so people can find you a lot of ways there. So it's an interesting thing. Something that is also still on your site, you kind of mentioned there, is that something that y'all had to pivot to in starting this or keeping up this professional organization of the driveway serenades, which you still have available on the site, it does look like.
Yes, we do still have them available. And I believe the price for a quartet is $200 for about 30 minutes of music, wherever you want it. That's about as steep as it'll ever get, because the serenades are for private events. However, when it comes to our public concerts, we almost always will do our concerts for $10 admission or free. And we're very passionate about that, because there's just a lot of barriers to entry for classical music historically, both on the side of learning an instrument, but also as an audience member. The music can be very academic and it can be very exclusive. And we're really trying to break that pattern and just make our events very open to anyone. And a lot of people who come to our concerts are people who didn't previously like classical music, and then they gave us a shot because it was a free concert in their neighborhood. And now they're like, oh, actually, it's kind of cool.
Oh, that is neat here. So you talked a little bit about how the process of how you got started. What actually led to then the creation of this kind of another performance venue? I mean, a lot of people would think about, in this kind of a realm of, El Paso Pro Musica or the symphony orchestras in town, or even their chamber music societies. But creating one kind of to start here is something that I think people might be, frankly, I was surprised to find out did exist in our area.
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. So the very, very first founder of Camerata del Sol was Daniel Vega Albela, and he's still the artistic director to this day. He is a music professor at NMSU. He teaches violin performance, and he was actually my teacher when I was in high school. So we always had a pretty close relationship. And when I came back, I went to study violin in Boston for 4 years. And when I came back to Las Cruces, just to kind of hang out for a little bit, see what was next, he and I were catching up, and he said, hey, I want to start a string orchestra in our area, because we don't have anything like that. We have the symphonies, which are great, and we have chamber music societies like El Paso Pro Musica, but we don't have any group that's doing professional string repertoire like, for 8 people, for 9 people, for 15 people. And there's actually really like a whole swath of repertoire that's written for that kind of configuration that wasn't being played in this area. And he asked me if I wanted to be involved in the project. So I said, sure. Somehow I became the executive director. And I'm really glad that he had that vision, because the more we explore this music, it's just, I didn't realize like how much I personally needed it. And I think that other people in the community feel the same way. So we see ourselves kind of as a complement to the symphony. I also play with the El Paso Symphony, and a lot of our members play with either El Paso or Las Cruces symphonies, or both sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely see ourselves as a complement to them, because they play all the repertoire we can't play because we're too small, and we play the repertoire they can't play because they're too big. And then when it comes to El Paso Pro Musica, actually, we're going to be featured in their upcoming chamber music series in January, and we're so honored. And I think what's great about El Paso Pro Musica is that they feature local groups like us, and they also bring in the international superstars. So they kind of bridge that, which is so important, because it just shows to like the community, and especially young people who are studying music, people in high school. It shows them that they could make it as a musician, like here, or if they want to go to New York or LA, great. But if they want to stay here, like there's a scene for it here too.
This isn't a topic we usually get into, I'll freely admit here, and this might be the most culture that some people who listen to this might be exposed to, but if you have people that want to come out to that event, again, happening on December 18th, this coming Saturday here, 1 to 6 p.m., the performance right after, what would you say to them who might be someone wondering, like, or may not even have any thoughts about this?
Sure, that's a good question too. I would say that give it a try. It's the holiday season. It's a great time to go to concerts. We'll be doing some holiday songs, some of your favorites, and it's a very interesting program. We have Mendelssohn, who's sort of like the pinnacle of classical music, although there's a lot of romance in there as well. We're also doing this piece by Piazzolla, which is a tango. It's actually called Tango Ballet. So if you like tango music, we have that to offer. And then we're playing this Spanish piece, which is basically supposed to depict like the toreadors with the bulls and the red flag and everything. So like it's a really interesting program, and the fact that it's so diverse in that way, I think will make it appeal to a wider crowd. And if you're skeptical, it's only $10. If you're a student, it's free. Come give it a shot after you do your local holiday shopping at the holiday market.
I mean, supporting local is something that we will always talk about here. But right now I've been talking with Amalia Zeitlin, Executive Director of Camerata Del Sol. Again, cameratadelsol.org. That's CAMERATADELSOL.org if you want to find them, or on social media. And again, the event happening, the Handmade Holiday Arts and Crafts Holiday Market at Bodega Loya Farm Stand, 10257 Socorro Road down there in Socorro. Again, December 18th, 1 to 6, performance right after. So thank you very much, Amalia, for taking the time to speak with us about this event, about what goes into it, what you all do, and the impact on our local region here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, due for that next break here right now, but coming back from the break, we will get into more of those topics that I wanted to focus on here today, including more specifically giving back during the holiday season, something that y'all have been bringing up to us, so we wanted to have a minute to talk about that here. So stay tuned, more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk, out of the office this week, but still talking about a lot of the important things going on in and around the community. We've had a lot of audience interest and a lot of charitable efforts for this season, so something we wanted to highlight on this week is a lot of what's happening here, along with all the other major topics that we discuss and go on about. So you can find all of the previous recordings we've done and the shows we have for this week over by visiting us on social media, primarily facebook.com/Talk El Paso, also on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch under the same names, or Andrew J. Polk. So to talk more about another aspect going on in our community here, we are joined now by Stephanie Acosta, Program Assistant with the El Paso Community Foundation. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, because y'all do a lot of important stuff in our community, just at a base level, but there's a particular season and spirit going on right now, no pun intended, that you all have worked on. People may have heard about it before, but if people aren't familiar, what is the spirit of giving?
So this is 33 years in the making. We are having our annual Spirit of Giving campaign where we engage with the community and invite the public to sponsor a gift for an individual anonymously. Through this campaign, you can make a monetary donation, and then the El Paso Community Foundation will ensure that the gift is purchased and delivered to the agency. Or you can shop the gift yourself, select one of the personalized tags of story that moves you, either virtual on our trees online or at a physical tree at Sunland Park Mall or Cielo Vista Mall.
And that's an important part that has returned this year, because in previous years there were the physical trees that had literal gift tags that you could go up and pluck off and then go out and buy the gift on it there. That had not happened over the past year or so, but now is back. But people can also find it online. spiritofgiving.epcf.org is where they can find all of that, and they still find the representation of the tags. Like just looking at it right here in front of me, we've got Mario, age 6, Isai, 25, Michaela, 6, Alejandro, 27. So it covers a lot of age ranges and, different interests here. Like Juanita has hers up here where she wants a warm winter sweater, baby blue or beige, ladies size medium, asking for that, or a nice bookmark. And that's the kind of thing that they can see when they go over to there or find the tags in those malls, right?
That's right. So as you are shopping this holiday season for your loved ones, friends, and family, just think about someone that you can purchase this gift for that might go without a holiday gift this season. And so if you are walking at Cielo Vista Mall, you can find a large Christmas tree with the gift tags, very similar to some of those personalized gift tags that we partner with the nonprofits to ensure that we're getting very personalized and meaningful gifts to create the special moment for people this holiday season.
Now, of course, iHeartRadio is also a partner of this, which we are very happy to do so, because it's an important effort in our community, and it really is not even just the El Paso community, but our whole borderland region here, because this is cross-border as well, right?
Yes, we have a number of agencies that both serve in El Paso and in Ciudad Juarez. So the El Paso Community Foundation really wants to ensure that we are regional and giving back to our community through this campaign.
Has been some interest from some of our audience members about making sure that we're doing the most good possible for those in the most need in our area here. So this goes to a wide swath of our area. So talk a little bit about the organizations that you all have partnered with in helping select who is going to then be receiving these gifts.
Yeah, so we partner with over 20 nonprofits in our region, as I mentioned, on both sides of the border. And we really rely on those individuals that serve the population. So we work with agencies that work with children, with older adults in nursing homes and state centers, or children with disabilities. And so we really want to make sure that we're providing a gift to all individuals that might go without a gift this holiday season. So the agencies submit the gift request to the El Paso Community Foundation, and we accept and we'll do our part to promote this. So with partners like you at iHeartRadio, it really makes this possible, with our community partners as well that sponsor gifts and have virtual tree links personalized. And through the El Paso virtual tree at spiritofgiving.epcf.org is where we have all of these gift tags that represent all these individuals across 20 different agencies, and really just want to make sure that we as a collective community give back. This is just a really great way to come together as a region.
Absolutely there. So this is also a very important portion of this whole season here, because as we are in this second full week of December, this is the time period when people can actually then come and either drop off the physical gift if they have gotten it at the Community Foundation's main office, which is right across from San Jacinto Plaza, or they really need to get their donations in if they're wanting to participate in this, so that you all can do it on their behalf kind of thing here. So what are those important dates we're in right now?
So if you decide to purchase and sponsor the gift yourself, You can drop it off at the El Paso Community Foundation office. Like you said, our doors are right across San Jacinto Plaza on Oregon Street between December 13th through the 16th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our doors will be open. It can be a drive-by. We really want to make this as safe for everyone to participate. So it really is a drive-by. We will meet you and pick up your gift. We ask when you sponsor the gift to please drop it off in a gift bag. As I mentioned earlier, we really want to make sure that these gifts are delivered to the right person, that it's personalized. And so we will check the gift so that we can give it to the right individual. And you could also make a monetary donation through our virtual website so that we also will keep you safe from the stores if you're hesitant during this time to go shopping. We will ensure that the gift is purchased with your monetary contribution.
Absolutely. So again, all that information, spiritofgiving.epcf.org. If you're just joining us, guest again right now is Stephanie Acosta, Program Assistant with the El Paso Community Foundation. You can also find you on other social media pages as well, right?
Yes, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at El Paso Community Foundation.
So a lot of ways people can find that information. Is there a good phone number for them to call y'all if that's the way that they prefer to do it, if they want to get any follow-up or any additional information?
Absolutely. You're welcome to reach me and our team really behind the Spirit of Giving campaign at 915-533-4020.
All right. One more time if you don't mind.
Yeah, 915-533-4020.
Absolutely. So that's how to get information on all of this here. Talk a little bit about some of the stories that you've heard or that you've experienced through this of what this means and the way that you all do it for this season. I mean, it's been going on for 33 years now, as you've said, right?
Yes, this is our 33rd year. And, you know, this is, again, one of those moments that you get to give anonymously. You are a big part of this process, whether you make the contribution or whether you sponsor the gift yourself. You know, you read some of those gift tags. One that I saw earlier that was really moving for me that I think I'm just going to sponsor myself, but you can find many stories like this. We have a 28-year-old with Down syndrome who has limited verbal communication. So his gift request is a guitar. And so really just finding these creative ways for either communication or bringing out the joy for this individual is just a really moving part of this campaign. And I won't get to meet, you know, Daniel, but I am excited to be a part of it where they get to enjoy this gift this holiday season.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this has been going on for literal decades at this point. What do you think is the importance to the community overall in this kind of a thing? This, I mean, there are a lot of efforts that happen during this season and, you know, different impacts that have, but this kind of very specific and personal kind of effort, what do you see as the impact and the importance of doing this kind of thing?
You know, I think just coming together as a community, there's this collective generosity, and El Pasoans are some of the kindest and warmest people, I would say, in the world. And it's just a really nice way to come together, have this impact for over 2,000 individuals this holiday season. So over the course of the past 33 years, the El Paso Community Foundation has provided over 63,000 gifts to El Paso and Ciudad Juarez as well. And so this impact is just, you know, it goes such a long way, and we're just so grateful for the community being a part of this for so long.
Absolutely there. So, again, if you want to find out any of this information about the program, about how it works and how you can participate again this week, the important deadlines here, this Monday through Thursday, you can visit them, spiritofgiving.epcf.org. Find out, you know, how to donate, how to be a part of it, if you want to drop it off, if you want to give the money, however you want it to work there, EPCF. So spiritofgiving.epcf.org, or find them on social media. So again, guest right now has been Stephanie Acosta, Program Assistant with the El Paso Community Foundation. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us about this particular charitable effort and giving back effort really going on in our community and how people can participate in it, the impact of it, and all of that here today.
Thank you, Andrew, so much for having us.
Absolutely there. All right, coming up on the need for another break right now. So coming back from the break, more Talk El Paso as we are out of the office this week, but still focusing on the big issues and the things that affect us here in the borderland. So stay tuned. Back after this break with more.
From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. We're out of the office here today, but we are continuing our new interviews and topics here, including one that's been requested by you all, talking a bit about giving back this season. Not a topic we necessarily get into, but I think a particularly important one given this season and given how we have been seeing some improved situations in our area. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So I've been talking with some of the organizations involved in doing that work in our area. So joining us now, we have Rebecca Vogan, president and founder of Root International. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us here today.
Absolutely, because, again, we did have a viewer request to speak specifically with you all because of the work that you do. So if people aren't familiar, what is Root International and what do you all do?
Well, our mission statement is that basically what we try to do is bring together communities and through the churches, through other nonprofit organizations and ministries. And we do this as we're faith-based, so as God directs and moves, we just bring everything together, and we do this through benevolence, education, and information. And this is to help that organization improve capacity or efficiency. Mm-hmm. And we provide whatever we can to the group that's in need.
And that happens both across the community here, both sides of the border, and to an extent across the country as well, because you all started here in the borderland region, but have since expanded and have further operations going on the East Coast, right?
Exactly right. We did start here, and so we have two locations. One is in Mercer, PA, western Pennsylvania, and, of course, here in El Paso, Texas.
So y'all have been doing this for better part of 20 years now in some form or another, but as a concerted effort throughout. And so what is some of the work that you all do? I mean, the general mission there. What's some of like the specific things that you do in this area?
Well, basically in this area, we are right on the border. Our sister city, Ciudad Juarez, is right across the border. You cannot miss it. And what we see and have always seen, I grew up in El Paso, is the poverty. And there is advancement on the border. There's a lot of things going on, but the poverty's there. And so Root International, since the beginning, has included Mexico, Juarez, Ciudad Juarez. And what we have done in the past and keep doing today is provide food, household items for dining facilities, educational material, Bibles, whatever we know that is needed, we try to collect and get across.
Okay, and I'm sure that has been challenging over these last couple of years now. I mean, we've just seen now the bridges reopen to foot traffic in limited capacities, and I'm sure that's been a factor here. Cargo transport has been a little bit more consistent throughout, but even then, just as we've talked with other, community activists and groups in our area, these past couple of years, even frankly before the start of the pandemic, because there was so much it was put as donor fatigue coming out in the aftermath of the August 3rd shootings. There was already seeing impacts to other nonprofits, community groups, et cetera, those that take donations in our area. So it's been a rough few years for most nonprofits and groups looking to make impacts in the region, and I'm sure you felt similar.
Exactly. 2019, you might say, was our last year that we actually crossed a tractor-trailer load of food. And then whatever was in our warehouse in Juarez at the time of 2020 was distributed in March, because that was a big, that was when everything slowed down and closed, and people were in need. Now the dining facilities closed as well, but there were other avenues where we delivered.
Okay. So, I mean, it's been an interesting time, again, for a lot of organizations here. But, I mean, talking about the stuff across the board, that has been part of the aspects that has been important to members of our audience, but you also do work on the U.S. side of things, both in our community and on the East Coast locations where you're also doing that work, right?
Correct. We want to partner. We need to partner, and I think every organization benefits from that. We partner locally here with some of the churches. We belong to a group that meets. It's a mission luncheon at St. Clemens once a month, except through the summer it's closed, but we network there with other organizations that are working in El Paso and in Mexico. And of course, in our other location, we do the same. We work with individuals, churches, volunteers, and we all come together and for one purpose, and it really works good to communicate that way and get everything together.
If you're just joining us, guest again right now, Rebecca Vogan, president and founder of Root International. You want to find information about them or how you can support them, they have their website, rootinternational.org. Also find them on Facebook, Root International, or Border Initiative Day, Root International. And we'll have all those links up over on our page as well, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso and in the announcement post. So all of that here, I mean, you've been doing this for, again, better part of 20 years, give or take there. How did this actually get started? Particularly, I mean, the way, the name there, I mean, Root International, kind of, connections and spreading out amongst the area. I mean, it's pretty descriptive here. And, and as we've been talking, it's kind of emblematic of how you all both started and have continued, right?
Correct. Root, the name itself is from the Bible, which is the root of David, and then rooted in God's love. And we see it symbolic to mean, too, that a root holds and nourishes, the plant and the trees or the flowers. And so we, in our work in the background, nourishing or supplying what we can to help those organizations grow and expand. And it may be just a drop in the bucket, but we've gotten good comments back from the group saying, thank you, that we needed this, we needed that. And it started that way back in the 80s. Actually, my husband individually would go to one organization, let's say Victory Outreach. I'm sure everyone's been familiar with them. And what was the other group? My goodness, Youth with a Mission. And Youth with a Mission would have maybe tables and chairs, and they said, we have, do you know anybody who could use them? So then he said, I do. And then he would go to Victory Outreach and say, hey, this group over here has, what you're needing. So then they would come and pick it up, or my husband would deliver it. And that's how the network began. But we weren't actually a organized nonprofit yet.
This kind of efforts going on.
It took forever. But eventually, when we did, we already had contacts. People were already familiar with us. We just kind of flowed right in there. Here it was easy because we had been doing this in a small way, and then plus I had been in contact with pastors in Mexico, in Juarez, and yes, it's difficult to get things across and difficult to it's a huge city, to get from one end of the city to the other end of the city, but we that's how it began locally here. And when we decided, okay, a lot of the donations, in-kind donations, were from back east. So we went there, and my husband's from Mercer, Pennsylvania, so it was easy. And we already knew people there in churches. And so you put those experiences, those contacts, put it together, and it grew. And it's been flourishing. It's been hard over the 2020, of course, but it never stopped. We just kept getting donations, volunteers coming in. The most difficult was the pastors could not cross over, those who had their legal papers and whatever, for the whole year and a half, almost two, right? I believe. So it was a difficult time, and we would have volunteers cross little, what was able, but as far as food this past year, we were not able to, and I really would like to see this start up again in 2022.
I mean, there's a lot being, riding on that in a whole lot of ways, but particularly for, with the other nonprofits, community groups, people involved in that, including like El Paso's Fighting Hunger Food Bank, the logistic challenges that have presented themselves over this past year, and again, with stuff recently being more open, but it's been an interesting phenomenon because actual, like the port of entry traffic, the actual cargo and that kind of thing has almost increased certain percentage points over this past year. So that has been moving, but primarily into the country kind of thing, or slight back and forth for kind of the maquila industry when it was operating. So for the nonprofit sector then, and the work that you're doing, what are some of the challenges that are being faced about getting that kind of, both just the support and then the logistic needs for getting all of that together to resume that kind of thing?
Well, the aduana, and crossing the border, it's an international border, so we go through the paperwork, and it can take months, the paperwork itself.
Wow.
And Border Initiative takes that over. We have they have an accountant who is knowledgeable in that you need to go through all kinds of the websites and web pages and fill out all kinds of information and make contacts in Mexico City. Everything goes to Mexico City, and then it comes back. So we've been fortunate to have people that know us or have heard of us or want to help, whether they know us or not, and they see that the need, and we've been able to work that way. We began in 2011. The first tractor trailer load of food crossed, and that was the 2011, and we went on and until 2019, like I mentioned. But in the first few years, 2011, 12, 13, we crossed over almost 500,000 pounds of food. And each one was difficult. Each one had to go through, of course, customs and through the paperwork. And that's been a challenge for us. Then once it's across, the warehousing it, and thankfully today we have Noe, Carlos Noe, who is a businessman, a Christian businessman in Mexico, has a warehouse here and in Juarez. We're able to directly go to his warehouse, and then it's distributed out of there. But then comes the next step, which is to deliver it across the city or further into Mexico, which we've been doing recently, the past four years, all the way to Veracruz, all the way to Gris, up in the mountains to Chihuahua, the city of Chihuahua. So I mean, again, transportation cost, transportation, a vehicle, a truck. A van that could take passengers, but with the trucking company, they take the cargo, so that's a good thing. And they have been providing paying for that as well. That's a big plus, and we just have to get it across and get it delivered through the it's Border Initiative.
Oh yeah, the Border Initiative.
They take over.
National. So I mean, it's all very complicated here, but I mean, you
but
talk,
it's worth it.
and that's kind of the question I wanted to get to here. You talked a little bit about part of your motivation to doing this, but what do you see as over the years you've been doing this, and particularly now, the importance of doing this kind of work again? Don't want to miss out on the parts that you do on this side of the border and across the country, but particularly when it goes down to the stuff across the border into our sister cities and to the further communities. What do you see as the importance of doing this kind of work, and particularly the impact that you all have?
Well, the first thing you see right off the bat, of course, is that a child has a meal. That's at a dining facility, let's say. We work with orphanages. We work with drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers, community centers. So the community centers set up, maybe they may have educational courses, sewing, whatever, and medical doctors come in, and then Root International's there with the supplies. We sometimes have medical supplies, sometimes we have school supplies that we take across, and the food. So we see all of this adding to, like we were saying, we support what they're already doing. We help wherever we feel, or they request, do you have school supplies? And if we do, sure. And we get it across, as little by little, but we get it across. And so that's what we see immediately, is that the child has a meal. But then we also see in the long run, they have school supplies. They can go to school. They can get an education. Or the community center can continue, supplying or helping with medical items in the community, also, we have pots and pans. It can cook something. We get the commercial big pots and pans, because you get 100 kids, you get 200. I mean, different. Everyone's different. Every dining facility, 50, 10, 100. You never know. So
it's a wide impact there, and again, coming out of the faith-based idea of it, and as a kind of conglomeration of efforts. And the way we're talking about it, as every a lot of organizations, particularly the faith-based ones in town, will do their own individual charitable efforts, but this is a way for them to come together and have it be greater than the sum of the parts there in a certain way.
Exactly. We ask for help. we do not stay in our own little world. We have to partner to get all of this accomplished. We partner with organizations in Mexico. Probably some of you have heard of the Zaragoza Foundation out there. We partnered with other business people, to help us. And then on this side of the border, we have volunteers that come from different ministries. Without the volunteers, what an organization can't function, enough. and it just all comes together that way. That's how we do it.
All right, again, joining us right now has been Rebecca Vogan, president and founder of Root International. Again, if people want to find information, get involved, or give that support, they can find you online, rootinternational.org, or on Facebook, Root International, and Border Initiative Day, Root International on Facebook as well.
Yes, I just wanted to add, it's hard to give all the names of all the groups, right? But did want to say we have, what is it called? El Paso for Jesus. It was one of the big groups. They actually cross food too. And then we have the Lutheran churches that have missions out there, and they have feeding programs on this side. So we're able to provide maybe, some food for them, and mittens and caps and gloves and things like that, and coats for the winter, which they requested, that they needed, and some school supplies. But just to mention a few on this side that are going on that side, we cannot take all the credit. It's a lot of work on their parts too. So
absolutely there. So again, information on all of that, rootinternational.org, or on Facebook at Root International, or Border Initiative Day, Root International as well. So Rebecca, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us about these issues, the work that you all do, and the importance of it in our region and beyond here today.
Thank you for having us today. Thank you.
Absolutely here. All right, coming up on the need for a break right now. So coming back from the break, we'll get to more of the show here while we're out of the office, but still bringing you new programming today. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here. We're going to have to leave it there for the day because we're still out of the office here, but still bringing you these new episodes while we're out this week. So we'll do that again tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. If you've been tuning in, thank you for doing so. Comments over on the socials, as always. No calls through the end of the week, but still hope you're enjoying what we've put together for you while we are not in the studio. And don't worry, we'll be back live next week, but be sure to tune in tomorrow for more of our new episodes, even while we're gone here. Thanks all for joining us. Been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when on the road. And as always, have a great evening, y'all. See you back soon, and talk to you tomorrow.